Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear us? Okay, great. I think Dr. McCulloch has joined, and I don't know if he would like to wait a couple more minutes before the session begins. And Kelly Raymond had mentioned in the chat that we'll be recording this session so that we can post it for other interested students. So if there are no objections, we will be recording the session. And I go ahead and turn it to Dr. McCulloch to see if he'd like to start.
Thanks, Irene. Do you have the slides?
Yes, I just sent them to you.
Yeah, I don't have my computer with me, so.
Okay, do you want me to put them up?
Yeah, not just yet, but after I've said a few words here.
Okay, sure. No.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for your interest in what we call the Interfaces graduate training program. I wonder if we could just maybe quickly go around and just, if you could let us know what your graduate program is and what your year of your graduate program is in the graduate program you are, and if you have a mentor or co-mentors, who they are. Maybe start with Helen. Or anyone?
I can go first. Oh,
Go ahead, Sam.
oh, great. Hi, yeah, my name is Sam. Sam Landry. Currently a first year in the biomedical sciences program, and I just joined Gene Yo's lab, interested in synthetic biology and gene therapy platforms.
I can go next. My name's also Sam. I'm a first year in the Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering Department. I'm in Dr. Lisa Poliakakis' lab, and I'm working on nanophotonic materials for cancer diagnostics.
Anyone else? Let's see, I'll just read from my screen. Trent.
Hi, I'm Trent. Like Sam, Sam Landry. I'm a first year in the biomedical sciences program. I'm also in the Yo lab.
Alexander.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm a first year in the MATS program, PhD program, and I'm in Karen Chrisman's group working on nanoparticles for treatment of MI.
Zineb.
Hi, Andrew. I'm just professor in nanoengineering. I'm just here to learn about the program for potentially my students.
Do you have any student here?
Yes, I have a few. I just don't I just want to know when they can apply by, and I'm hiring one that's coming in this fall. So I want to see if it's possible to apply for them. So
let's see. Things are moving around my screen. Helen.
Hi, sorry, I was having a microphone problem. Hi, my name is Helen. I'm a first year PhD in material science program, and I currently work under Professor Michael Saylor to do course nanoparticles.
Vikrant.
Hi everyone, I'm Vikrant. I'm a first year PhD student in bioengineering, and I'm currently rotating with Dr. Terence Sanowski over at Salk, and I'm interested in computational neuroscience.
Okay. Let's see, Tian Yang.
Hi, I'm Tian Yang, and I'm first year PhD in bioengineering. I'm currently in Shen Lab doing spatial transcriptomics studies.
Justin.
Hi, everybody. My name is Justin. I'm a first year PhD student in the biomedical sciences program as well. And I just finished my second rotation with Ajit Varki, and I'm really interested in utilizing the glycocalyx to reverse chronic disease like atherosclerosis and cancer. We're currently figuring out the funding situation, but it's the lab that I would like to join.
Adrian.
Hi, everyone. I'm a first year in the chemical biology program. I'm in Professor Itai Budin's lab studying ways to modulate membrane fluidity in cells.
Let's see, Kendall.
Hi, I'm Kendall. I'm a second year PhD student in the biomedical sciences program. I'm in Bjorn Peters' lab at the Wilhoit Institute for Immunology, and I'm studying unconventional T cells in a variety of diseases, namely TB.
Nicole.
Hi, everyone. I'm a first year in the bioengineering department. Just joined Brian Aguado's lab, and we study sex differences in heart valve disease.
Bianca.
Hi everyone, my name is Bianca. I'm also a first year PhD student in the bioengineering program, and I'm working with Dr. Karen Chrisman and co-advise with Dr. Mariana Alperin here at Stanford, and we're looking at tissue engineering and regenerative medicine in regards to female pelvic floor disorders.
Rachel.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rachel. I'm a second year biomedical sciences PhD student in Erin Carlin's lab, and I'm co-advised by Chris Benner. I study the transcriptional mechanisms that are responsible for driving differences between neurologic and hemorrhagic flaviviruses.
Let's see, who have I, Elaine?
Oh, hi everyone. My name is Elaine, and I'm a first year PhD student in MA department, where I'm working with Professor James Frame, basically on the project of applying acoustic fluidics and ultrasound on biomedical fields. Thank you.
And I think, did I miss Kyle?
Yeah, I am actually a first year master's student looking to go into the PhD route. I'm in bioengineering. I'm working with Padmini Ragamani, and looking at the tension associated with Drosophila cell membrane ingression. And Dr. McCulloch, you are my co-advisor.
Okay, so did we get everyone? Okay, so thank you all for coming. It's great to have so many students from biomedical sciences. Usually have a few from biology and neurosciences, but this year we seem the biomedical sciences is well represented, so that's great. What I'm going to tell you about is two things. One is an interdisciplinary degree specialization, and that is a PhD degree specialization that you join after your first year of PhD studies if you're in one of the 11 participating graduate programs. And I think you all are. Okay? So that's the first thing I want to tell you about. And then the next thing I'll tell you about is the training grant. Only students who are in the interdisciplinary PhD specialization in multiscale biology are eligible to be appointed to that training grant. There are other eligibility criteria too, but the first real thing we want to tell you about is the degree specialization, because this is the program you would be joining. So it's called the Interfaces graduate program because it was supported originally by a grant from the Howard Hughes Medical Institutes called the Interfaces Graduate Training Program. So Interfaces is our shorthand. The title of the program of the training grant is actually, could you go back? It's multiscale analysis of biological structure and function. And the name of, so that's actually the title of the training in multiscale analysis of biological structure and function is the name of the training grant. And the goal of the original Interfaces graduate training program proposal to HHMI. And the name of the degree specialization at UCSD is the Interdisciplinary PhD Specialization in Multiscale Biology. So just a lot of different names, just so you understand the difference. Okay, next slide, please. So as I mentioned, this is an interdisciplinary training program. It actually involves, I think we're up to 11 different graduate programs now, and was originally supported by a grant from the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, as I mentioned, on the Interfaces program called the Interfaces training program. We were one of 10 universities to get this award to promote interdisciplinary training. And we became a sort of an official degree specialization approved by the Graduate Council in 2009. And then we received an NIBIB T32 training grant, which has been renewed a couple of times since then. The key concept behind this training program and behind what the Howard Hughes Medical Institute and NIBIB wanted was interdisciplinary training. And the way we've sought to do this is through first of all, through the interdisciplinary specialization. So basically it doesn't limit you to one particular home graduate program. Secondly, through dual mentored training. And so students in the specialization should have not one mentor, but two or more from different disciplines. Yeah, there's a lot of things that define different disciplines, but ideally, you wouldn't have two interdisciplinary co-mentors from your own department in your own graduate program. The other key idea we had in distinguishing this program from others is an emphasis on what we call multi-scale biology, where so many problems in modern biomedical science involve understanding phenotypes at an organism or organ or tissue scale in terms of the sort of molecular events that regulate them. And so this is an inherently multi-scale problem that benefits from various technologies. Without electron microscopy and light microscopy or medical imaging or mass spectrometry or quantitative computational modeling, we couldn't study problems at multiple scales and we couldn't integrate them back together. So the idea of the curriculum is that we have 6 courses that are lab-based courses that teach in a hands-on way different techniques at different scales, from the scale of mass spectrometry in our protein structure determination lab, all the way through to the scale of whole body physiology in our magnetic resonance imaging lab. And also we have a couple of courses that are more integrative by using computational modeling. And these courses are all hands-on. So rather than giving you a lot of theoretical background on the imaging or theoretical background on the mathematical modeling, we just teach you how to use the tools, and we sort of approach it from the point of view, the way you would if you were a graduate student working on your research, needing to use a new tool to solve a new problem. And by having students from different disciplines together in these classes, you can work together in teams, and we always sort of encourage these teams to have students from different disciplines, have an engineering student and a biomedical sciences student and a biology student working together, for example. And so in this way, you learn not only interdisciplinary research, but sort of interdisciplinary communication skills and collaboration skills. Now, this last little bit here applies not so much to the whole specialization, but more specifically to the training grant. So I think I'll leave that for a moment and just stop here and ask if there are any questions. So I should say that you're eligible to apply in the spring of your first year, towards the end of the spring of your first year, to join this PhD specialization. And the application is relatively straightforward. You just need the support of you need to be in one of the 10 participating graduate programs. You need the support of your mentor and proposed co-mentor. Sometimes these are just proposed because you're first year students. And you need to sort of agree to participating in the events of the program, taking the courses, participating in our graduate seminars and annual symposium retreats. And we also have a TA requirement. So after you yourself have taken one of these lab courses, usually the following year or the year after, you'll be a TA for that lab course. Now, because we have the courses are relatively small, and we have a relatively large number of, but the interfaces students themselves are taking these courses, it means that you'll be TAing a small class, in all likelihood, with someone else who is also in the program. So it's not a very onerous TA requirement because, like I had a class of 12 students last quarter, and we had 2 TAs. So it wasn't really too much of a burden on them. But we do have that teaching requirement. Occasionally, we'll give students TA credit for other things like organizing the symposium. Okay? But the idea is really just to get sort of more exposure to interdisciplinary research training. So maybe let's go to the next. Well, maybe I should stop there and just ask if there are questions about the specialization. Oh, I guess the other thing I should tell you about specialization is that what it formally means is that once you advance to candidacy, you'll be advancing to candidacy for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in your home disciplines, such as chemistry and biochemistry, or biomedical sciences, or bioengineering. And then sort of in parentheses with specialization in multi-scale biology. And so it's a formal degree specialization that appears on your degree. And it reflects the fact that you've had this specific interdisciplinary training. And there are other such degree specializations on campus, such as in computational neurobiology, for example. So perhaps I'll stop there and just see if there are any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. Kind of, you defined like a requirement as having like co-mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of clarify what you mean by that? Do you just mean that like we have to have people that we're working with on a monthly, whatever, semi-annually basis that are across different disciplines, or do you more so mean like 2 thesis advisors or 2 labs that you work directly with?
So we prefer it to be closer to the latter. We've had a somewhat of a spectrum of this. The language that we use is sort of a bona fide dual mentor. In other words, that most students have a primary mentor, and that's fine. We just want to make sure that the co-mentor is not just a name, right? That there's someone who is actually providing intellectual input. And if you are collaborating with their lab, so much the better. If they do serve as co-chair of your thesis committee, so much the better. We don't have any sort of stringent requirement on what it constitutes, but the goal is to have what we call bona fide co-mentorship. In other words, at least 2 faculty members who have a real interest in you and your research and the ability to help you take advantage of interdisciplinary opportunities to advance your research. So I think for many of the students in the program, because of its emphasis on scale and technology, they would have one mentor, maybe their home mentor, who is like an expert in a particular science domain, and then another one who might be more of an expert in a particular technique. So if you were in mechanical and aerospace engineering or chemistry and biochemistry, it may be that your home mentor is more the technology mentor, and that your lab is interested in applying it. Like, say, Dr. Rangamani's lab is expert in modeling cell signaling. And she co-mentors interfaces students who work on neuroscience, say with Dr. Brenda Bloodgood, or who work on compartmentation of cell signaling and pharmacology with Dr. Jean Zhang. So that who's in pharmacology. So on the other hand, you may have a primary mentor in biomedical sciences who has a particular scientific interest. And then you can use this program as an opportunity to maybe find a co-mentor who has expertise, for example, in a particular technology. Maybe you're interested in using lattice light sheet imaging, or electron tomography, or MRI, or computational modeling or something like that. So that's how it seems to work best.
And going off that question, with respect to our mentor and co-mentor, do they both have to be a part of the Interfaces faculty?
Yeah, so to be in the interfaces, in the degree specialization, if your faculty advisors aren't listed in the degree specialization, they're welcome to be. All we need to do is add them to the list. And the only reason we wouldn't is if they, for some reason, didn't want to be. So that's fairly easy. So the practical answer is no. On the other hand, we are going to talk about the training grant, and there are more constraints on the who we can support on the training grant. Okay, so perhaps is that the next slide, Irene?
Oh, it's how to apply, what we were looking for again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so these slides kind of mix up the specialization and the training grant in a way that we probably ought not to do. But when you apply to join the specialization, you will also be given the opportunity, if eligible, to apply for a position on our NIBIB T32 training grant. And you will have to be admitted to the program in order to be eligible for the training grant. But you know, it's rare that we don't, but we have these information sessions so that anyone who's interested, we can join the specialization. If you're willing to do the things, do the work, and you have a good rationale for how your research goals match the theme of the program, and you have interdisciplinary co-mentors, then that's pretty much all we need. So assuming you're admitted to the specialization, which pretty much everyone is, then the question as to whether you're eligible for the T32 comes down to a couple of things. First, not all students are eligible for the T32. You have to be a US citizen or permanent resident. So if you're not a US citizen or permanent resident, that does not stop you applying and being a full participant in the specialization. It just doesn't allow us to nominate you to NIH for support on the training grant. Secondly, we would require that at least one of the two co-mentors be a named faculty member on the training grant. So if you already have a primary mentor who is not named on the training grant, it will be important to get a commitment from someone who is to be the co-mentor. Ideally, both will be, but that number is a little small, and fewer than half of you actually mentioned a mentor who's actually named on our training grant. Now, one thing I have to say here is that I have used the students themselves to help build these interdisciplinary partnerships between faculty, and then I've appointed those faculty to the training grant. So there's a certain amount of turnover. Some faculty retire and leave. Some turn out to not actually, typically have students on the training grant. And so each year I do an annual report, I swap in some new faculty for some old ones. And so particularly the new junior early career faculty, we've had tremendous success with early career faculty being mentors on our training grants. And so don't let the fact that your intended or current mentor being not on the training grant discourage you from applying. Instead, work with us to find a co-mentor who is. And then the other thing that is required for eligibility is the training grant is only intended to support students in their second and third year of the PhD. So with the master's students, this creates a little bit of flexibility because we could count you as a second year student in the first year of your PhD if you switched from the master's to the PhD, or we can actually count you a year later. So if you do switch to the PhD, then we do have a wee bit of flexibility, but in practice we find that most of the students who petition, at least in bioengineering, to petition to switch to the PhD don't have approval from the department in time for us to make our decision. So we usually, if you're a master's student, we would normally consider you, in your, what would be your third year of graduate studies, but your second PhD year. I hope that doesn't sound too confusing. There's a list here of the graduate programs that are participating in the specialization at the moment. So if you're not in one of those graduate programs, and I don't think we have anyone in that category, then we can start the process to add your graduate program. Several of these graduate programs joined because of students like you who said, I want to be part of this. And that wouldn't happen probably in time for this year, but the way it turns out is that you're not formally registered in the specialization until you advance to candidacy. So we formally accept you, but it doesn't actually show up on your registration. So there's a little bit, that gives us a little bit of a window. So we could, if you are in a different graduate program, we could still add you and then use that time to add the graduate program to the specialization. Any questions on this?
I had a question. So you're saying that they can apply if they are already in their second year as well? For example, I have a student who's only been in my lab for 1 year. So the end of the first year, they can, okay.
Yes. So, and we will consider, so there's no problem with students applying in their second year to join the specialization, other than it gives them less time to take the courses. But the courses are research oriented. You only have to do 3 of them. Okay. And similarly, the TA experience is not onerous, and so, I mean, the things that we do in this program, and we really try and avoid busy work. We're really working on experiences that will make a difference to the success of your graduate studies and your career. So, if a student feels that the things that the requirements of the program would be a distraction towards progress, then they may not be right for the program. But if the student says, "Oh, this program is great for me," then I don't think they'll mind taking a couple of extra courses.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, well, let's move on then. The next slide. Yeah, so we have a bunch of events. These are all specialization events, not training ground events. Okay? So the dual mentorship, the lab curriculum, the seminars, the annual research symposium, the annual retreat, the teaching, the modest teaching requirement are all, and the sort of normal progress reporting are all part of the program for everyone. The only thing the NIH trainees have to do is there's also an NIH progress report that they have to submit. So regardless of what training grant you may be on, you have to write a progress report. There's a question is, would I be eligible if I've previously been on another NIH training grant? You would not be ineligible as long as you're in the second or third year of your PhD. Normally, there aren't normally too many NIH training grants anymore that support first year students, but if you were supported on your first year on an NIH training grant, there's nothing to stop us supporting you on years 2 and 3. It's also, though, a little unusual to only be supported in your first year on an NIH training grant for the other grant. Okay, next slide.
Dr. McCulloch, I wanted to mention about the progress reports, that although that's distinct to the T32 trainees, we still keep up to date with specialization students because we do report on them.
Right. Yeah. So everyone has to do an annual progress report for spring evaluations, and the specialization will receive those and review them, and the steering committee will discuss them to make sure that everyone's making good progress and that their sort of their mentorship is working well, and that that they have the benefit of genuine interdisciplinary co-mentorship, and we're basically here to help. So now let's get to the training grant itself. Oops, maybe can we? Oh, so these are the courses that we offer. We have a neurodynamics course and a numerical analysis for multiscale biology course. These are sort of integrative courses that teach hands-on sort of computational tools. In the case of 276, for example, we go all the way from atomistic molecular dynamics modeling all the way through to sort of whole organ scale computational modeling. The slide's a little bit out of date. The instructors, Dr. McCammon is retired, so Dr. Morrow is the co-instructor for that one. Then we have a tissue engineering class that Dr. Kwan teaches. We have an MRI class that Dr. Liu and Wong teach. A class on supramolecular complex determination. This is a mass spec course that Dr. Majid Qassemian teaches. And then we have a course on molecular imaging and quantitation in live cells that we're hoping to transition from Dr. Peter Wong, who's leaving UCSD, to Dr. Jean Yang. We're also working on a new course. Dr. Valdez-Hasso and Drs. Smar and Schoenenberg are working on a new course on data sciences for multiscale biology. So this will be also sort of a hands-on computational course. Okay, so I think hopefully everyone now knows the sort of the goals, the scope, the expectations of the program, and the normally that's something you would join at the end of your first year or apply to join. Now let's talk about the training grant. Do we have a slide on that? Okay, so I mentioned that you have to be a US citizen or permanent resident. That's true for all training grants. So we support only second and third year students on the training grant. And we do have some others. We do have some San Diego fellowship support that we can use as well. You do need to have two mentors, at least one of whom is on as a named training grant program faculty member. But as I mentioned, we have such fantastic new faculty joining all the time that we try to add new faculty as we can. Anyone can be a specialization faculty member. So if your faculty advisor, if your faculty advisor wants to be on our webpage, we'll put them on. And certainly if you join the specialization, we'd like them to be on there. And if you need help identifying suitable interdisciplinary co-mentors, particularly those who are currently training faculty, Kelly can send you a list, and we can also even discuss with you, who might be a good match, right? When we know them well. So just to calibrate expectations, there are only 6 slots on this training grant, and since they support students for 2 years, that means we only actually can appoint 3 students to the training grant each year. So whether you get admitted to the specialization does not mean you'll automatically get supported on the training grant. And furthermore, the criteria that we have to use in appointing students to the training grant have to take into account a lot of considerations. We want to make sure that we have diverse representation from the different graduate programs, different scientific areas, and this diversity of the students' background, ethnicity, gender. So we have a lot of kind of competing priorities to match. Fundamentally, though, we're looking for students who belong to one of the participating graduate programs, who are co-mentored by faculty members, one or both of whom are training grant faculty, and who are interdisciplinary, whose research fits the multi-scale biology theme, who can explain which courses of the curriculum you're going to take and how they relate to your research training goals. and who are eligible to be on the training grant. You'll need letters of recommendation from the co-mentors explaining their commitment. The application isn't very long, but it essentially asks the questions that I just asked. And we also have to look at the balance of representation of the mentors. So, if, for example, you have a mentor who already has a student supported on the training program, that might make it a little bit harder for you to be supported as well, at least at the same time, because that would mean that maybe 1/3 of the trainees at any given time could be supported, could be working in just one lab. So like I say, lots of criteria that are sort of outside your control, but definitely relating your research training goals, your research goals to the theme and goals and curriculum of the program is critical. We encourage applications from underrepresented and disabled students and place a high priority on diversity. Next slide. Yeah, so there are some specific requirements that are sort of driven by the training grant, but that all students have to fulfill. One is the responsible conduct of research requirement. So if you're in a biomedical or life science program, you already probably have to do this. If you're supported in a lab that has NIH support, you have to do this. But if you're in the specialization, and particularly if you're on the training grant, you will have to take one of the available courses on responsible conduct of research that the UCSD ethics program offers, and they also offer refreshers. And these courses they make really easy and engaging, and they're just like an hour a week. International students are eligible for the program, they're just not eligible to be supported on the training grant. You're not eligible to actually, international students are not eligible to be supported on any training, NIH training grant, unless you're a permanent resident. But you're entirely welcome and eligible to be in the program, the Interface of Specialization. Next. Okay, so then I won't bother going through these, but this is a list of the faculty from the different departments who are named on the training grant. I'm not sure this is 100% up to date. So we'll make sure we send out to everyone who attended today an up-to-date listing. We could just next slide. So the application process itself the applications are due on the May 23rd. They're not, like I said, it's not very difficult. Probably the most time-consuming part is getting letters from mentors, and we don't mind if those are just emails. They don't have to be super formal letters, but they need to show commitment, right? We occasionally get letters saying, oh, we really recommend the student for support on your training grant. That's not the question. The question is, do you recommend them for admission to the specialization? And we basically discourage students whose only reason for applying is to get support on the training grant, because this is really a program, and it's a program where you benefit from working with other students from different disciplines, and only a small fraction of them for a short amount of time can actually be supported on the training grant anyway. So is that it, Irene? Are there any more slides?
Just a quick overview of the application steps. Do you want me to show that one? The next one?
Sure.
It's already what you've described, but it gives you an idea of the process.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a timeline here, is that we usually, the program steering committee usually meets in the late spring or early summer, and you would normally officially begin your start in the specialization, and if you're a trainee, have your traineeship start at the beginning of the fall. Okay, so I've talked a lot. Maybe we can close the slides down and just open it up for questions.
When I applied to UCSD last year, I did not include GRE scores because they weren't required. I took the GRE in 2014. Would you still like me to submit that separately since it wasn't included in the application itself?
I think we've sort of gone GRE blind at UCSD, so I didn't, did it say GREs on there?
Correct, yeah, it did.
Yeah, I don't think it should, yeah. I think it's outdated. Yeah, so this isn't an admission decision in the sense of you're being admitted to. We already know you're great students, and this is really, yeah, our main criteria have much more to do with, you know, are your reasons for wanting to join the specialization, you know, well motivated. And by the time you go through the process yourself, I think you'll know. If you start filling all this out and say, wait, I'm not interested in these classes, then you probably have your own answer. So, but the students who are in this program really love the program, and they really enjoy the opportunity of getting to know and work alongside and the students from the other disciplines. And so if that's your thing, if you want to sort of get more interdisciplinary experience and, you know, work more at the interfaces of technology and science and across scales and across disciplines, then I think this program is for you. And like I said, you get a degree specialization, and there's not a lot of sort of unnecessary requirements. The requirements are really the very essence of the program itself. So we'd want confirmation from the mentor and co-mentor, but if you don't have a co-mentor, many of you are barely identified a mentor, that's okay. If you don't have a co-mentor, just say so, and we can help you try and identify one. Okay, so we do realize that, you know, you're still sort of fairly early in your pre-doctoral training and still maybe doing rotations. And so if you don't have two co-mentors, then one would be a good start. Any other questions?
So if we don't have a co-mentor yet, is it all right if we only have one letter of recommendation?
Yes, it is, yeah. But you may want to think about who your co-mentor would be, particularly if you want to apply for the training grant and your mentor is not a faculty member of the training grant, then, you know, now would be a time to identify someone who is, preferably from a different department, different discipline, who could be a good co-mentor. I can tell you that this process has resulted in lots of very productive new collaborations. You know, so I mentioned Dr. Rangamani. Well, her collaborations with Dr. Bloodgood and several others on this at UCSD really built around this training program. So I hope that.
Question: do your chances of being part of the specialization also increase if it's multiple people from the same lab, or is that just for the training grant? So just being part of the program, is that?
Oh no, I mean, if everyone in your lab wants to be part of the specialization, we would be more than delighted.
Okay.
So no, that's and I mean, I can honestly say that because we have these information sessions, and I kind of try to explain what the sort of spirit and philosophy of the program is. We don't usually get applications from people who aren't genuinely interested, and so we don't normally. We would admit everyone. I mean, the only exceptions are if the student isn't actually a PhD student yet, or they're not actually in one of the 10 participating graduate programs, and then even then it's just a matter of we try and make it work. Just have to maybe take a little more time.
That's great. Thank you.
So yes, I would encourage you all to apply and to join the specialization, and if you're eligible, apply to join the training grant. to be appointed to the training grant too. Even though we can only support 3 students plus a San Diego fellow, so 4 students a year. By the time you take into account the fact that we're going to try and spread them out across the graduate programs, and by the time you take into account the fact that not everyone is eligible, we support a significant fraction of the trainees in the end. So so it's definitely worth your while. We just don't want you joining the program solely because you're interested in getting supported on a training grant, because you're really signing up for a degree program. But it's not a degree program that's really supposed to be a lot of extra work. It's supposed to be a lot of extra opportunity.
And I should say that it's recognized in the diploma, in the degree.
Yeah.
You actually have that title with that specialization. That's why it's formalized. So it'll have that distinct title.
Yeah. And when you apply, even if we can't appoint you to the training grant, a number of things happen at the meeting where the steering committee discusses it, which includes, well, this student could be a good candidate for this other training grant that we happen to know about. There's nothing to stop you being on this training program and on another training grant. We have had that. Sometimes there are special fellowships. Sometimes there are new faculty who you don't know about, who could be great co-mentors. So we do a lot behind the scenes to try and help everyone get the best out of the interdisciplinary research and training environment here at UCSD. And the more diverse and interdisciplinary our applicant pool is, the more successful the program is. So if we only end up supporting, engineering student or appointing engineering students, then we won't have succeeded in our goal. So again, we really appreciate your interest and encourage you to apply and ask us for help. Anyone else have any questions?
So just to clarify, the application for the grant and for the program are the same application, or are they 2 applications?
Yeah. So yes, it's the same process.
Thank you.
And those who in the application, it'll ask to be considered for either the training grant funding and the San Diego Fellowship. We do encourage students to think about the San Diego Fellowship information and how that could meet some of the aims that we have in terms of diversity.
Dr. McCulloch, so just one question on the application due date. So are the letters of recommendation also due on May 23rd?
If we will chase them down if they don't arrive at time, so don't. We'll chase them. We've chased them down before. As long as we get them before the steering committee meeting. So we'd like them, but the faculty are busy and we understand.
Yes, thank you so much.
So the other question, seems like some students may already have a San Diego Fellowship. That would not affect your application to the training grant.
No.
If you already had come with a university San Diego Fellowship, that wouldn't affect you for including that you want to be also considered for a training grant spot.
Exactly. No, that would be no disadvantage at all. Anyone else? Okay, well, I think we're just 5 minutes away from 1 o'clock. So if you do have any questions, please contact Kelly. Maybe you can put your email in the chat, Kelly, and she'll do her best to answer. And we'll also send that list of the current training grant, training faculty. So can I just have a sort of a quick thumbs up, raise of hands for those who think they will apply? Great, fantastic. All right, well, again, please let us know if you have any questions, particularly when it comes to finding mentors and co-mentors. I know this is a little tricky, but we're here to help. Anything else, Irene?
No, just let Kelly know if you have any questions, and we were trying to not make the application too burdensome. So if there's any questions, certainly contact Kelly. Just came on board as the program coordinator, and she's very excited to work with all the students. So she's here to help out. So it's great to see that we have a good group of students applying, and it's a really great community. It's starting to pick up again, after the 2-year type of hiatus we had. And if you look at the website, you can see some of the student seminars that Kelly's been working with the students on. And so look forward to maybe seeing some of you, join the program.
Yeah, so Kelly will add you to our mailing list, and so you'll hear about the ongoing activities such as the graduate student seminars. Please feel more than welcome to come along, and the best people you can really talk to are current trainees in the program. And we had a symposium recently that was really great, and just showed the sort of depth of interdisciplinary interest and enthusiasm and interaction between the students from so many different graduate programs here on campus. So we're really, it's you, the students, that make this program. All right, well, thanks again, everyone, and thank you, Irene and Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.